Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you once again to Extreme Racing League's X3 series. We're going to be looking at 17 drivers, by the looks of it, possibly more, but right now it's looking like we're going to have 17 drivers coming down to qualifying in the striped parking lot that is France. Is the 9th race of the XRL X3 Season 2. And we've had a very, very interesting season thus far. The big thing is that the dominant drivers, after the first 7 races, end up getting moved on into other categories due to either being too fast, too slow, or whatnot, time issues, etc., etc. And that has completely blown open the championship battle between 4th and 20th, and has completely altered the way the championship is looking between 1st and 3rd. Very shortly here, I'll be able to bring up the points for going into today's race, but I'm going to say right now, this will be a very, very interesting event because there may possibly be a threat of rain during today's race or qualifying. We don't know for certain, but there is a threat for it. So, as we go ahead and we start pulling up the Extreme Racing League X3 standings, coming out of Canada, this is what the championship standings look like for teams. Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 still has 208 points, while Alfa Romeo still has 149, with McLaren F1 having 94. Those are your obvious top 3, and it's looking like Mercedes is taking advantage of their early championship and will try to hopefully eke their way out into a team championship there. BDW Racing Point has 77 points, with Williams having 67.6 in the standings as Red Bull with 53, while Haas has 42 for the F1. Renault F1 team has 41 points, which is just 4 ahead of Scuderia AlphaTauri, and the team that is struggling more than any other is Scuderia Ferrari, which only has 20 points. It has been a very, very rough year this year for the Ferrari team in X3. When it comes to driver championship, things are a lot closer in some ways and a lot more spread out in others. We have a 5-way tie for the bottom part of the point standings between XRL Smash, XRL Patriot, XRL Stumpy, Find Waldo, and Constant Jet 1141. All of them only have 0 points right now. Fratters has taken home another point after the running that we had at Canada. He is entering today's race with 3 points, 15th in the sheets. 14th on the sheets has just 5 points, and that is XRL Blake. There is a tie ahead of him though, 3-way tie between Ottawee, XRL Turbo, and XRL Whippy. In the Alfa Romeo, the Ferrari, and the Red Bull, they each have 6 points. Then Careless Jackson is 10th on the points board. He has 12 points. Ahead of him is a tie between the 2 Haas machines of WCD Hubert and XRL Gusty. Hubert continues to be a very, very impressive driver in qualifying, but continues to also struggle, bringing it all together to a solid result in the race itself. We saw a very, very poor car setup, bringing him from what could have been a podium finish last week at Montreal into not even in the points-paying positions. Then you have Bucks, who has 15 points and 7th on the sheets, while just ahead of him by 3 points is RetroXE. He's 6th on the points board with 18 points. 5th is Electrofritz ES. He has 22 points. He is just 3 points out from Schold, who has 25 points. He is 4th on the timesheets. Another 10 points up is XRL Devil, and then XRL Snake. He is 2nd on the points board. He has 44 points. Ahead of him by 14 is XRL Cargo in the Alfa Romeo. So Cargo may be in a decent position if he can bring home a really, really good finish in relation to XRL Snake. He'll have a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of a barrier going forward in these going forward in the next few races. Right now, 14's not really enough. If you messed up and you ended up not finishing the race or finish outside of the top 10 and your rival ended up 1st, 2nd, 3rd, you could easily lose or end up tying up the points championship. So I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of points saving games being played up there at the very front. Of course, you don't want to go too hard with it, because if you focus too hard on just the points, you could end up losing out on a chance to bring home a podium, a victory, etc. So this is going to be a very, very interesting race. I'm going to be very honest. I struggle very much with this circuit. I do not know this track very well. Every time I look at it, I'm not going to have a very good time calling the shots on as to what is happening where on the circuit today. Sorry. So I'm just going to get that out of the way right now for y'all. Anyways, going on to the circuit right now. And we should be getting weather reports for the qualifying in the race very shortly here. But right now, it seems like it's relatively clean. A little bit of a very distant fog out there in the Andes mountain ranges in the far distance. But for right now, we're nice and sunny today. But when it comes to the race itself, we're expecting it to be a dry qualifying session followed by a dry race. So it shouldn't be that difficult to navigate. There is a threat of rain from what I've heard, but more than likely we can be expecting a dry qualifying session and a dry race for today's event. Stand by for just a second. We are waiting for our first drivers to go ahead and leave the pits, and I believe we see one of the Renaults popping out right there. That will probably be Boothby. Yes, it is Boothby, but someone else is going to get out ahead of him. That is Schold, so it looks like Schold is going to be the very first car that will be getting onto the race circuit today in the Williams, as he already goes down into turn number 1. One of the big highlights of this circuit here at France is that this circuit leaves itself open for a lot of different creative interpretations. You could really make this track in almost any way you want. There aren't a whole lot of permanent features in the circuit. There are like a limit in the sense of surface area that a track can cover, obviously, but you could really do just about anything you want to here. So right here, this is one of our DRS zones that we'll be seeing. By the looks of it. But no, I'm going to be very interested in the future as our next generation of Formula 1 cars come out in 2022 if they're going to adapt this circuit at Paul Ricard in response to the changes in the cars going forward. It's going to go a little bit quiet for a little bit of time. Oh, and it looks like something has happened. I believe that it's one of our McLarens. I think that's Carlos Jackson there. He pulled over for a long time there on the first of the 2 back straightaways. He is getting back underway now. But he did pull over for some period of time. I also don't anticipate much to happen in terms of accidents in qualifying, mainly because there's just so much runoff room. It's really hard to really tow your car here. The big challenge is going to be who is or isn't going to end up damaging their machine, not damaging their machine, but damaging their lap times by cutting track limits. So this is Elfin Starfish. I'm going to go quiet on my end because he's just about to start a lap, and we're going to ride on board with Elfin Starfish here in the AlphaTauri. Just give you a lap to hear what a lap around here is like. And that is a lap on board with Elfin Starfish for one lap here around Paul Ricard. He has gotten to the top of the timesheets. He has knocked Boothby off the top. As you see, I believe that was Books who has pulled off the circuit way back there. But Elfin Starfish goes to the top of the timesheets with a 130.1. That knocks off Boothby with a 130.360. Right now, we also have WCD Hubert. He is coming out of that second back straight. No, he's coming. Where is he? Yeah, he's on the second back straightaway right now. Going through the third sector, we anticipate he will start making his decent, really good lap times soon. But the big thing is really watch him when we get to Q2 and Q3. That will be when it gets really, really exciting. There is a possibility that we may have rain during 2 from what I'm hearing, but for right now, we should still be good. It looks like we'll have a very straightforward, dry qualifying session for Q1, but rain may be a situation here. As WCD Hubert comes around the final corner, very, very tight, not a very wide corner either. Almost hairpin-like. And at the line, WCD Hubert puts on the timesheets 132.289, so apparently right now he's holding back, just keeping stuff in reserve. No need to go hyper hard right now. Speaking of hard, no one is running the hard tires right now. Everyone is running softs. Here's Retro. You see, he is already invalidated. This is his first flying lap, and he's already invalidated, so it's going to make things very difficult for him. Another driver in a similar position is XRL Snake in the Mercedes. He tried to put a lap down, and he was invalidated at somewhere. So this is his second lap right now as he's coming through the third sector. That black Petronas-sponsored machine only has about 3 more corners to go here. Here he is, comes out of the final corner. DRS opens up on the front stretch, and at the line, XRL Snake is going to put down a time of 130.551. That is enough for third fastest at the moment here. Just about everyone has gone ahead and attempted or is in the process of attempting a lap right now. The only 2 drivers who have not yet is XRL Tome and XRL Turbo. Neither of them have started yet. XRL Cargo now has the fastest lap in the Alfa Romeo, 130.070. So he has beaten Elfin Starfish by 300ths here. And give me just a second because I want to check something when it comes to technical issues. Please stand by. Apologies for that. Just a little bit of potential issues here when it came to the volume. So here we are. This is Cargo, who is currently staying on top of the timesheets at the moment. Now, the big thing is that Patriot is in the pits, Audui is in the pits, and Tome is now coming out of the track. But here is Retro. This is the real question. Retro, another lap invalidated. So Retro really struggling to put down laps here right now. He's the only person on the circuit who's not either in the pits or in an out lap that hasn't put a time down yet, and it looks like it's going to take him even longer to get it going. He may have already aborted this lap. There was no DRS open there, so I think he's going to abort this lap, bring it in, put on new sets of reds, and try to get going from there. Right now, the big thing is only the top 15 make it to the next round. We're missing 2 drivers. We do anticipate we'll still have a full field of 20 cars for the race itself, but 2 drivers have missed qualifying, so it's going to be 3 drivers who will get knocked out going into Q2. Q2 is where you end up deciding what you're going to start the race on when it comes to tires, and Q2 is also where you end up getting the top 15 drivers all putting their times down, and the top 10 of those 15 advance into the pole shootout for Q3. For right now, although it's not really honest, the game says that Retro, Turbo, and Waldo are the 3 drivers who will not advance to the next section. I don't anticipate that will stay that way. I imagine all 3 of them will eventually be able to get out there and set a lap. It says XRO Tones. But no, it looks like Retro is going for another lap. Okay, so Retro seems to think he can get one more decent lap out of those tires. He's got a decent amount in the ERS, 87% here, so maybe he was saying back the last lap to also help charge the ERS a bit. Very, very tight technical section. The big element of the circuit is that you have 2 very technical sections on opposite ends of the racetrack, and then you have several straight or straight-like complexes in between them. Really makes it a difficult circuit to really understand. This is fine Waldo we're following, not Retro. I apologize for that miscommunication. Also of note is that Audui in the other Alfa Romeo, he is now on his out lap as he is entering the second sector now and onto the first of the 2 back straightaways. DRS is open, but this is his out lap right now. He's just getting everything spooled up, ready to go for the main lap itself. He is the only driver here who is on an out lap that has not already set a time yet. And here's XR Augusti. He has gone by the line. he's going to try and improve his time. Right now, he is 11th on the timesheets in the Haas machine with a 131.861. We anticipate he will try and improve. His teammate, WCD Hubert, is on his 3rd lap on these tires. I'd be really curious to see if he's going to stay on another lap. It looks like he may try to. Right in the final corner, WCD Hubert runs a little bit wide in the exit. Coming down the line, does he improve on his time? Does not appear he does, so Hubert is stuck with a 132.289 at the moment. Fine Waldo has set his first lap time, though. It is a 131.179. It's good enough for 7th on the timesheets right now. However, it looks like he has invalidated this lap that he's on at the moment. Meanwhile, Atui is of note. He has yet to set his time down, as he is in Sector 1 right now, going through the first of the 2 more technical sections of the circuit here. And a little bit ahead of him is XRL Patriot. He is the only Red Bull car on circuit right now. I imagine his teammate will show up sooner rather than later. Patriot has the slowest time on the sheets right now for 132.375, and Red Bull has struggled very significantly this entire season thus far, trying to get decent results in qualifying or in race. They've made it out of Q3 a few times, but they've never really contended for getting into Q1. Hopefully they'll be able to start turning that around. It's generally a shame to see a good team getting knocked down like that here. Very difficult corner. It's got tightening radius, which makes it very difficult to ensure you have proper throttle application throughout the entire corner. It's not a consistent radius, and XRL Snake will actually pull off the circuit in order to make sure that Patriot can go ahead and get the lap clean and not be very nice there, not be hampered by someone else's aerodynamic weight. Coming down the front straightaway, he's got the DRS open, and at the line, will XRL Patriot improve his time? Yes, he does. He goes up to 10th, the 131.314. So very nice to see right now. But the big thing to take note of is this guy, Atui here. He has set down his lap. He has gone up to 130.637. So the Alfa Romeo team very well represented in the top 5. They are the only team to have both their drivers in the top 5 right now. He runs through some of the runoff sections in order to make sure he's not in the way of any other driver. And here is Retro. Retro is on an outlap. Now here's the thing. It looks like Tome and Turbo have not gone out yet. So I'll be curious to see if they'll be able to do anything, because they have only about 5 minutes left. I also wonder, I might not be aware of it, they may be suffering or paying a penalty when it comes to qualifying. The qualifying ban could have happened due to circumstances in the last few races and qualifying there, so they might be suffering a qualifying ban. Again, don't know for sure, don't quote me on that, but that is a possibility. That's usually what happens when somebody goes an entire session and doesn't leave the pits at all. But here is Retro. He is the only driver not in the top 15 yet, by virtue of him not having set a time yet. He is on an outlap at the moment. Meanwhile, here's XRL Smash, and the Ferrari team runs really, oh no, he's actually going to go ahead and pull it into the pits. Only 13 from the timesheets right now. Not a great time, but at the moment, it looks like that might be enough to get him into Q2. Meanwhile, across the line, XRL Snake has knocked Boothie off of the 3rd spot as Snake goes up to a 130.347. No one has broken the 130 mark yet. Keyword being yet, obviously. And here we are. XRL Tome and Retro are both on outlaps. Turbo has not left the pits yet, but this is Tome in the other McLaren. His teammate Carlos Jackson is 12th on the timesheets with a 131.574. It will be interesting to see if Tome can match or better that time here. But anyways, going down the front straightaway, here is Fratters. He is 15th. He is at most risk of not making it in the next round. But coming across the line, Fratters, significant jump. He's going to move up to 131.298, but immediately gets knocked down to 12th because the car behind him, and Carlos Jackson, moved up ahead. He's gone to 9th and 130.861. Waldo is on another outlap. He seems to think that he can improve. This is Retro. He is on his 2nd lap. It says that's clean for now. He needs to keep it clean. There's only about 3 minutes left in the session. You can't be waiting this long to just put a lap down. Here we are. He's going to enter this variable corner section here, about 4 away from the end. He's in the 3rd sector, and XRL Gussie will be our first retiree from the race. No need for him to continue pushing when he's already locked into 5th on the timesheets. The likelihood of him getting eliminated out of Q2 is extremely, extremely low here. Constant Jet will also do the same thing, a little bit lower on the timesheets, but Constant Jet seems to be very confident with his 130.746. He will retire, and now here we come. Retro, he will go onto the timesheets. Will it be him or WCD Hubert on the outside looking in? Right now it is Retro on the outside looking in. He only has a 132.407. Needs to improve by about 12 hundredths if he wants to be able to beat WCD Hubert at the moment. So he's got another lap. He might be able to make something happen. Here is WCD Hubert. Not very typical from him. We're used to him locking himself into Q2 without too much of an issue, and then he pulls out miracle work late. He is going through Q3 right now, though. I mean, not Q3, Sector 3 right now. Be interested to see if, by chance, he has improved. No, he goes wide, and he's going to invalidate the lap. So it might be a case that the Miracle Man in qualifying, WCD Hubert, is going to run out of miracles. There's only about 1.5 minutes left in the session. So if he is going to come around, he's going to go one more time. So he's only going to have 1 lap to make this work. He's got the DRS open. He's got to be good. XRL Smash in 14th has retired from the session. Meanwhile, here's Retro. It looks like he may have also invalidated his lap, so Retro may not have a chance to improve. He's got 50 seconds to get to the start-finish line. I think he'll be able to do it, so it's going to be a last lap shootout between WCD Hubert and Tome is going to kick both of them to the curb. Tome goes and saves the best for last, 129.743, the first driver below 130, and this means that Hubert and Retro both need to take off at least 5 tenths or more if they want to fight in Q2. XRL Smash is 15th. He is right on the boards. He might not be able to make it, and I don't think it's going to happen for Hubert either. It looks like this lap may have been invalidated. Can Retro find what would be the equivalent of 7 tenths somewhere around this circuit? That's going to be the big question right now. Turbo has set a lap time down of a 131.963. Not an ideal time. It's still leaving him on the outside looking in, but he might be able to get in. He is on a lap right now. Time is clocking down, so it's Turbo, Hubert, and Retro. Hubert has pulled into the pits. He is not going to be able to do it. Can Retro or Turbo overtake Smash and get into Q2? That's going to be the big question right now. It's saying fuel is low for Retro. This is his last possible lap. He's got to hope that he has saved the best for laps. His softs have more wear on them than anyone else thus far. Up ahead, you can see the McLaren. I believe that is Tome. That is XRL Tome out there. Tome will go ahead, pull wide. So Retro's got to come down to the line. Has he improved enough? The car is at the lightest it's going to be this entire session as he rounds around the second to last corner, now into the hairpin-like last corner. Runs a little bit wide, but not terribly so. He's put the power down. DRS open, coming down to the line. Retro, his new time is going to be 131.793, but that is not enough. By 2 hundredths of a second, it's not enough. So now the question is going to be, will Turbo be able to overtake his teammate Smash and make it into the next session? He's only out by about 2 tenths. Has he found 2 tenths? And will that be enough to get him into Q2? DRS open, going down the straightaway. Turbo's new time, 131.963 is not enough. So Retro, Turbo, and WCD Hubert, none of them will make it into the next session. And the miracle worker and qualified WCD Hubert will not be able to make any miracles happen today. He is going to have a very rough time. He will not even make it into qualifying section 2. Wow, did not expect that. I would have honestly thought Hubert would have locked himself into the Q2 without too much of an issue. But this means that 15th, XRL Smash, he went ahead and retired early, and it looks like they ended up paying off at the end. He has not damaged the car, he has not gone through too many sets of tires, and he is 15th, so he will make it into Q2. 14th on the timesheets is XRL Patriot, 131.314. Fridays is 13th with a 131.298. Schold is going, oh, and there we are. Anyways, here we are. Scholl in the Williams has a 131.100, Fine Waldo 130.887, Carlos Jackson in the McLaren 130.861, Constant Jet 130.746, Ottaway 130.637, Gusty 130.585, Boothie in the Renault has a 130.360, Snake and Books in the Mercedes machines are right next to each other, 130.347 and 130.183, and then when we come to the top three, look how close these guys are. 130.1 flat for Elfin Starfish, then XRL Cargo 130.070, and XRL Tome at the very top 129.743. So that's what we're looking at for our top 15 drivers going into Q2. As I said before, Retro, Turbo, and Hubert are the three drivers who will not make it in. Gusty needs to perform to showcase the ability of the Haas machine here as we begin loading up the circuit. And here we are. This is what I was afraid of. We saw the clouds starting to descend and come down during the end of Q1. It looks like the clouds have settled and is now dropping rain onto the racetrack. So this could make it a very, very interesting run going through Q2. Only the top 10 drivers in Q2 will advance into Q3. This is where everyone decides what tire compound they're going to start this next race on. It looks like we already have our first drivers attempting to leave the pits right now. Looks like everyone's going out in a hurry. I think that's Boothie, who is the very first. Yes, Boothie. 116 is going to be the very first driver going out into the circuit. Going to spend a little bit of time trying to warm up. So the interesting thing will be, will intermediates actually play a role? Here's Constant Jet. He is the only car right now that the game is saying is on the intermediate tire compounds. I don't believe he has left pit lane yet in the Williams, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here for him. He is the only driver not running the softs or medium tire compounds at the moment. This is Carlos Jackson, one of the McLarens that went ahead and made it into Q2 without too much of an issue. So everyone has now left the pits with the exception of XRL Cargo. Cargo was actually swapped to the intermediates while Carlos Jackson swapped to the soft. So a lot of these drivers seem to think that they might be able to make something happen here on dry tires, despite the fact that the track is going to be quite slick. So this could be a very, very interesting session, to say the least. So here's Boothie. Oh, and Boothie turns himself! He puts the power down a little bit late and he turns himself around and damages the front wing right on the front straightaway. So our very first driver who had came out of the track is already suffering on those medium tire compounds. So things not going very well. And there's not a whole lot of areas where you can really damage your car like that on the circuit. And for Boothie, it just happened to happen at the worst part of the track. He has to go around the entire circuit with a damaged front wing. Now, obviously, the damage to that car isn't terminal. He'll be able to come in and just swap it out, but that's going to cost him a lot of valuable time and track position. Cargo is now on his out lap, so Cargo is going to be the first driver to try and make something happen on the intermediate tire compounds. And there's XRL Smash. He has pulled it into the pits. Something... excuse me. Something may have happened to him, as along with Constant Jet and Elfin Starfish. Here's Elfin Starfish right now coming down the pit lane as he is pulling into the pits. Meanwhile, this is XRL Snake. He's one of the drivers running the medium tire compounds right now as he's going through a little chicane through the two back straightaways. Now entering the second back straight, and this is where they cross over from Sector 2 into Sector 3. He has a purple Sector 2, so he might be able to put down a decent first lap here. Carlos Jackson is going to cross the... No, he's not. Okay, never mind. trying to see who the first driver is that's going to cross, and I think it might be XRL Cargo, but Cargo's on an outlap right now. I think, yeah, because here comes Careless Jackson down the line right now. So here's Careless Jackson. He'll be the first driver to put a time down. 144.360, so you can tell already the massive harm the rain has done when it comes to pace. 145.976. That is Gusty's time. And now here's XRL Snake. He's going to come across the line 144.609. But the big question is going to be, for the drivers who are running intermediate tires, what are they going to do? He has a purple sector 1. This is XRL Cargo. He is the first driver to go out on the intermediates here. And there's a yellow flag apparently in sector 1 and 2. I think that is Careless Jackson, who was pulled over for the second. Yeah, that's Careless Jackson. He is not pulled over. He has ended up damaging the front wing somewhere, and he's invalidated his next lap. He has the fastest time for now, but might want to jump in and put on the intermediates. It seems like the track is just slick enough that you run the risk of damaging the front wings here, putting the power down too early. And Cargo has retired from the session. Something has happened to Cargo. This is his teammate XRL Smash. I'm trying to see. And there you see right there, Cargo has completely gone off and destroyed the front suspension. So even with the intermediate tires, it didn't matter. Cargo has ruined his car, and Schold and his teammate Smash have both ended up sustaining some sort of well, actually, no, Schold's gotten away without too much damage, but Smash has definitely sustained some sort of damage and has basically invalidated this lap. So bad days go worse for the Ferrari team. They make it into Q2, but it ends up going even worse for them. This is rough, to say the least. Meanwhile, at the top of the timesheets on the medium tire compounds, XRL Gusty 144.292. And now Snake goes to the top, 144.036. Schold and Tome are going to be the big wild cards because they're both on intermediate compounds. Tome and Schold both trying to make something happen here on the intermediates. If they can make it work, if they can not spin out and crash like Cargo did, they might be able to go right to the top in Q2. Doing so would lock them in basically into Q3. But I'd be curious to see if they'd be required to start on intermediates in the race itself if we end up not having a wet race start. Ryan Bohr with Schold. The main reason we're following him is because he is one of the two drivers who are on the intermediate tire compounds trying to make something happen on those. Also of note, we have less than 8 minutes of session, but only 5 drivers have actually set a time thus far. So things are very, very wide open right now for just making it into the next session. The only driver we know who's not going to do it is XRL Cargo after wrecking out here at France. And XRL Tome, there you are, our first driver with the intermediate tire compounds, an improvement of time by 1.5 seconds. That's XRL Tome at the very top of the timesheets in the McLaren. We're right now watching Schold. I'm going to be very curious to see how much Schold is going to be able to make things happen here, as he is going to have clean track ahead of him, DRS open, intermediate tires, but it looks like the rain is just slightly sprinkling right now. It's not super heavy at the moment. Here we are at the line. Schold is good enough for 5th, 144.431, and here's XRL Patriot. He has already gone ahead and pitted, and he's swapping on to the intermediates. I think everyone saw what Tome's done, and they want to mimic it. They want to get out there and set good laps on the intermediate tires. Here's XRL Smash. He has invalidated his previous lap by the looks of it, though. And here's Boothie. He's entering into Sector 2 now. And here's Elfin Starfish. He is back on the top in the medium tire compound. So a lot of variance when we're seeing right now in tire compounds and times. Starfish on the mediums is 4 seconds faster than third place. Well, almost 4 whole seconds faster than third place here. So I almost wonder if maybe the tires aren't as much of the issue as maybe the setup might be a little bit iffy and not agreeing with the cars at the moment. The range from 1st to 8th is 7 seconds, a little less than 7 seconds. This is, to say at least, this is crazy. You typically don't go this long in a qualifying session and see this much of a range, even if it was a wet session. So I'm going to be interested. I'm still very interested to see what's going to happen as we continue here. Right now, I believe the next driver who's going to come down the line, this is Boothie. He's one of the drivers running the intermediate tire compounds. He's in Sector 3 right now, but ahead of him, and Snake has retired from the session now. So Snake figures that there's no need to continue. He is locked into 3rd. I don't know if I'd feel confident with that, but he seems to be good. Here's Constant Jet. He's gone off the circuit back here. All right, he's merged back on, but anyways, here's Boothie. He's now entering the pits. He is not going to run a full lap on intermediates. He has abandoned it, and there's only 5 minutes, a little bit over 5 minutes left in the session. I think it would be more important to at least set a banker lap, but apparently not. Here's Constant Jet. He's one of the other drivers who will go ahead and jump into the pits. Now here's XRL Patriot. He is on an outlap right now. He's one of the drivers on the intermediates, but it looks like the track might be drying off just a little bit here, because we now seen 4 drivers at the top of the timesheets and the medium tire well, no, actually, Tome is just swapping onto the mediums, but I think the track is drying out very gradually here. Fratters is on outlap on softs. Constant Jet has swapped to the softs there in the pits. So Snake might be at a little bit of a risk here. He is 3rd on the timesheets, yes, but the track's dry. It's going to get a lot faster now. This could really, really hurt him. This is his teammate Books. He has not left the pits yet. He is the slowest on the timesheets right now, 147.081. Of note, no one has set a lap time on the soft tire compounds yet. Fratters is setting himself up to be the very first driver to do it, as he is coming across the line right now to begin his first flying lap. Carlos Jackson is on another outlap, and he is doing it on intermediates. So he seems to think that the track might end up getting wet again. But the circuit is definitely drying out here. With less than 4 minutes to go, it might be just a mad scramble to not perfect your lap, but just try to get a lap down to get into the top 10 right now. 4 drivers who are currently on the circuit will not be able, on the track will not advance. We already know about Cargo, because Cargo is wrecked out of the session. Carlos Jackson having a little bit of trouble keeping the rear end of the car straight despite running on the intermediate, so I wonder if that's more of a car setup issue than a wet track issue. The track seems to be getting very dry relatively quickly here. Meanwhile, here's Schold. He's on outlap. He's on the mediums, and this is Patriot. He has invalidated this lap by the looks of it as he comes around the final corner. He is on the intermediates. I think he's invalidated this lap. We'll see. Yeah, no improvement from Patriot, so it looks like that prior lap was invalidated. He's going another lap on them. And with the way, and it looks like he's just invalidated this next lap as well. He needs to just come in, swap on, jump onto softs, and get out there, peel out as fast as a lap as he can now. Because if not, he's not going to have a chance to make it into Q3. This is Red Bull's chance to finally get some representation in Q3. And it's not going to happen if he keeps out there on the intermediates. The track is not wet anymore. It's very quickly getting faster. Fratters, now at the top of the timesheets, 131.299. So that should tell you quite a bit there. Fratters, who has struggled consistently in the series, is now putting on the good show. He's at the top of the timesheets with less than 2.5 minutes left in the session on the soft tire compound. I'm curious about the Alfa Romeos. Here's Ollie. He has gone across the line. He is on the medium tire compounds, and he is starting his flying lap. He's going to have time for this lap and possibly one more. Books is now on his outlap. As I said earlier, slowest on the timesheets right now, trying to warm up the tires there on the first of the 2 back straightaways. Not having a great run right now. I'm not even sure this lap is going to be good. Here's Constant Jet on the other hand, as he's entered Sector 2. He has a purple Sector 1, so the Williams might be able to make something happen here. Going down the first back straightaway at the moment, but no DRS open. One of the big elements is when there's a threat of a wet racetrack. DRS is closed and kept closed so that way it's a little bit safer and more consistent for the drivers to keep power on the track. Tome now goes to the top of the timesheets, 131.183, very good all the way around. Here's Ottawi now on the medium tire compounds as he runs around the lawn sweeping, I shouldn't really sweeping, but reducing radius corner. Now he's going into the final 3 corners here. This is Smash at the line. Will Smash put a lap time down? No, he does not. So his first lap was invalidated. Smash needs to put a lap time down now. This is his last chance. Boothie at the line. He has also not yet put a lap time down. We only have 9 drivers right now who are locked into... No, there we are. So it has happened. Our 10 drivers are locked into Q3, but with only 30 seconds left, what's going to change? I don't know if we're going to see some of these drivers be able to set in their lap. Here's Waldo. He's coming down the line. Will he set a time down? The sun is out. This is the fastest the track is going to be. 131.833. Just say there's a risk that Careless Jackson might not make it into Q3 because he retired too early. Three, 2, 1. Time is up. It's down to these 3 drivers. XRL Smash has a purple sector too. He needs to not invalidate. He might be able to bring one of the Scuderia Ferraris into Q3, but he needs to make it nice and clean. Constant Jet has not set a lap time. Constant Jet will not advance into the next session, so he's gonna be out. Can XRL Smash make it into Q3? His ERS level is extremely low. He only has less than 15%, but he's coming down into the final corner. Very careful, doesn't run too wide. He's going to keep it green. XRL Patriot is now knocked out of the session. Here comes XRL Smash. Is he going to make it into Q3? At the line, Ferrari is going to make it into Q3. He's 8th on the timesheets. Here comes Boothie. Boothie last minute to the top, 130.863. And Ferrari with XRL Smash is finally going to make it into Q3, and trouble and heartbreak for XRL Gusty. Oh, no, wait. No, wait, Gusty might still be able to make it work. He's still on a lap. Gusty might be able to make it into Q3. He needs to keep it clean here. Coming down to the line, last corner. A little bit of a lockup on the brakes. Power down, he's on the sauce. DRS open, will he make it into Q3? Yes, he does! XRL Dusty's gonna make it into Q3. Snake and Careless Jackson both take the penalty of retiring too early from the session. Neither of them will make it in the section. Constant Jet does not end up getting able to set a single lap time. And XRL Patriot, another heartbreak day for the Red Bull team, will not even come close into making it into Q1. A lot of drivers got caught out there with the real iffy situation of rain and how wet the track was or wasn't going to be. But the track got really nice and really fast late in the session. And for drivers like XRL Smash in the Ferrari, a Q1 appearance is what this team desperately, desperately needs. I just want to say personally, like, although they don't have a driver of the day when it comes to just qualifying right now, huge credits to XRL Smash for being able to bring that car into Q3. So this is our top 3, our top 10 going into Q3. Boothie, Tome, Books, Fratters, Gusty, Ottawi, Waldo, Schold, Starfish, and Smash. They're the drivers that will make it in the next session. The really interesting part is that only one Alfa Romeo is made in the next session. That is Ottawi. So really interesting. There are only 3 Ferrari engine cars make it into Q3. Renault only has 2 cars in Q3, but they're the 2 fastest, Boothie and Tome. And then Mercedes locks out all the other engine manufacturers with the exception of the 2 AlphaTauris of Starfish and Fratters. So Fratters, also congratulations to him. He is 4th on the timesheets right now. Just saying, for some of these guys like Fratters and the Ferrari team, just being able to make it into Q3 is great, and that means that if they can avoid incidents early on, they might be able to set themselves up for a points-paying finish. That is what they need desperately to start turning their season around here. Here we are, already a gaggle of cars pulling out of the circuit here. That's Schold, who looks like it will be the first driver to come out onto the circuit here. Already invalidated his first lap, but again, this is just an outlap. It doesn't really matter too much. What matters is just getting times down that are fast. One car is still not left the pits, and that's Books. And as I say that, he is now pulling out. He will have the cleanest track of everyone around him, assuming that his teammate Schold doesn't end up putting down some rapid fast times and end up ahead of him. We're going to go ahead, and we'll be quiet for a lap here. 1 second. And we'll just ride on board with Schold as he is anticipated to set down our first flying lap of the day. If I see something happen on the circuit, though, I will cut over to that real quick. And at the line, Scold's time is going to be a 131.644. Not quite the speed that we are seeing in Q1, but I anticipate the speeds will gradually pick up as we go forward. Here we are, Ottaway right to the top, 130.181. Here's Smash for the Ferrari, invalidated his first lap, so he's going to have to go another circuit here. In fact, a lot of drivers seem to have trouble with an invalid first lap. Here comes Tome at the line, the McLaren. He will probably set the fastest time, I imagine. Yes, he does, 130.027. So really close to knocking down that 130 barrier like what we saw in Q1. Here's Waldo at the line. This is enough to get him up to third, 130.723. This here is Elfin Starfish. He's right behind his teammate Fratters right now. A little bit too close, I'd reckon, but here we go. The two AlphaTauris at the line. Elfin Starfish, 130.213. Fratters, 135.288. I have to wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a ploy here by the team to try and improve Fratters' time by letting him run in the DRS zone and letting him have a little bit of draft ahead of him once they get onto the back straightaway. Here's Books, and Books is going to be the last driver to set a lap here. Well, a lap doesn't matter if it's clean or dirty. At the line, Books, he will go up to fourth, 130.573. And again, he's the only Mercedes to have made it into Q3. The rain really played a lot of havoc in Q2, and we're seeing a lot of names up here that we don't typically see at the front of the field. We could be looking at a very, very interesting race just because we have so many drivers we're used to seeing mid-pack or the back of the pack, starting up near the front. Here's Smash and Gusty. They're both coming into the pits. Boothie is coming down. He wants to try and improve, but it looks like he's invalidated another lap. So things not going well for Boothie. He's going to have to stay out there and go for another circuit around here. Meanwhile, here's Find Waldo. He's going ahead and pulling into the pits. On the back straightaway, here's Books. And Books is trying to improve on his lap time. And here's Starfish. Something has happened to Starfish. He has gone way off the circuit there. Not really sure what was going on there, but here's Fratters, his teammate, as he's coming down into the final corner. His teammate Starfish is going ahead and jumping into the pits. Will Fratters be able to improve? He's 4 seconds off of Schultz's time right now, so there's a lot of room for improvement, to say the least. No DRS open. I wonder what the plan was there. He doesn't improve on his lap time and no DRS open, so... definitely a strange thing, to say the least. Meanwhile, Books has brought it into the pit lane. He is not going to run another circuit for the moment. Schultz is on another outlap. And here is Smash. Smash is beginning his next outlap. He has a little bit more than 5 minutes to put down a lap time. Looks like they have loaded that thing up with a decent amount of fuel. So I imagine he'll be able to set at least 2 or 3 good laps. As long as he can keep it clean, that'll be the important thing. Gusty is still in the pits. Here's Boothie coming in the line. Will he finally set a lap time? Yes, and what a lap time it is! 129.995. He will break the 130 barrier. So it took a while, but Boothie finally made it happen. And the big question now is, what can Gusty and Smash do once they finally put down lap times? And can Fratters improve on his time? Here's Fratters. He'll be the next car to cross the line here. No, I'm sorry. Schultz will be, actually. Schultz is on outlap, though. Fratters is not. I don't think this lap's going to go for Fratters. He's going to pull off the circuit. So I'm guessing he's probably going to have to come into pits or something. He's gone a long time out there and hasn't really got a whole lot to show for it. There seems to be something wrong with the engine. It's stuck in between 4th and 5th gear, according to what the game is saying. He is coming into the pits now with a little less than 4 minutes to go. He needs to get out there really quickly to see if he can improve on his time. Meanwhile, Smash has crossed the line. He is now on a flying lap. Hopefully he can set down a clean lap and get a decent time in. This is the best we've seen Ferrari do all season long. This may be their chance for them to improve on their times. Meanwhile, here is Boothie. He's on a much, much slower lap. I think he's just going to go ahead and coast it this circuit. And this following one, he's going to go full bore here. His current time, it says, is a 1:36. So, to say the least, yeah, this is not going to be an improvement by any means. And here's Ottawee. Ottawee coming around the final corner. He's on another outlap, trying to see if he can improve and get back to the top of the timesheets here. And the other Haas is going to be the next driver across the line, but he's going to just be starting the lap. He won't actually be doing anything with it. So the one we really need to watch here is Elfin Starfish. He is on an outlap, so we'll be keeping an eye on him. Find Waldo, similar scenario. He's on an outlap. Here is Schultz, 131.644 at the moment. Trying to make something happen here with less than 3 minutes to go in Q3. Down the front straightaway, DRS open, and at the line, Schultz's new time, 131.077, so he improves, but not enough to bring him up the order. Smash, his time at the line, 131.535. So right now he's locked into 8th. Fratters has not left the... Yes, he is. Fratters has just left the pit. He's going to try and improve. He needs to take off at least 4 seconds, though. Well, at least 3.5 seconds if he wants to start continuing with Smash for 8th position. Here is Gusty. Another lap invalidated for him. So he's going to have to come all the way around to come across the line. I think he's only going to have enough time for 1 more lap, honestly. 2 more laps. I'm sorry, 2 more laps. I think he'll be able to get 2 laps in. Boothie has pulled off the circuit, so that way Ottawee will have a little bit cleaner track. Ottawi trying to improve. He's at 130.181 at the moment, and coming down the line, DRS is open, and Ottawi will set down a time of 130.146, an improvement, but like what we saw earlier with Schold, it's not enough of an improvement to move him up the order any. Gusty pulls off the circuit for a bit, so that way he's not going to be in the way of any of the other drivers. Bucks is on another outlap here. Fratters is on his outlap. Here's Elfin Starfish at the line. Will he improve? Yes, Starfish to the top. With what a lap does he do it with 129.368. Impressive job by the Starfish. Gusty is now in a position where he has to perform, and he has to do it this lap. If he doesn't do it this lap, he will be locked into 10th, which is still decent, but we've seen much, much better from the Haas team. He needs to put down a lap, and he needs to do it now. Here's Fratters. He's going to finish his outlap. He's only going to have one lap to improve. He cannot afford to invalidate his time. He's going to be fighting with Smash and Gusty by the looks of it. Maybe Schold as well. But at the front, at the top of the timesheets, it's going to be a war between Starfish and Boothie. Boothie is rounding the last sector of the circuit now. Here is Starfish, and Boothie has invalidated his lap. Boothie's lap is invalidated, and he will not be able to knock Starfish off the top by the looks of it. What about Starfish? Starfish is still flying here. He might actually be able to improve. Here's Tome. Tome had gotten across the line. He will have enough time to improve. Smash has retired from the session, so Smash is not going to go any longer. He is content with his 131.535. What about Gusty? There's a field of cars ahead of him. Boothie's ahead of him. Books is ahead of him. And at the line, Books is going to improve, but will he improve by enough? At the line, 129.715, that's good enough for second, and there we are! Gusty, second on the timesheet, 129.657. Here comes Fratters. Will he be able to improve and fight with Smash for the 9th position? Even if he doesn't, 10th is still a decent starting spot, but he wants to go big because he doesn't want to just go home. Coming through the final quarter, he's going to get the car nice and straight, puts the power down, DRS opens, coming to the line, Fratters in the AlphaTauri, his new time is going to be a 130.362. That's good enough for 7th. And now the question is, can Tome do anything? He is the last car going to come across the line. And in the Renault-powered McLaren, XRL Tome's new time is going to be 129.520. That's good enough for 2nd. A lot of jockeying coming down at the last moments here in Q3. And you can see right there the way that turns out. Smash brings home the Ferrari. There will be starting the race in 10th position. Schold in the Williams will be starting 9th. Waldo in the Racing Point will be starting 8th. Fratters in the AlphaTauri will be starting 7th. 6th will be Alfa Romeo of Ottawi. Renault with Boothie. He was leading the timesheets, but was too little too late. He's only going to start 5th. Books is going to start the Mercedes in 4th. Haas with Gusty is going to start 3rd. And your front row is going to have a McLaren of XRL Tome and the AlphaTauri of Elfin Starfish. We are looking at a very, very interesting race simply because a lot of these drivers here at the front are drivers we don't see a lot. We don't really see much of Starfish at the front. We don't see a lot of Fratters at the front or Smash at the front. This could be a very, very interesting race to say at least, simply because of how unique the starting grid is going to be for today. I need to take a break because I'm already stressing my vocal cords out way too much and there's still a race itself ahead. Right now, we're just waiting and standing by on the race itself to get underway by the game standards. We've had a very, very interesting qualifying session, sparked off when only 18 drivers were able to get going. Well, only 18 drivers started qualifying, and we saw WCD Hubert, who had been a miracle worker, not be able to bring that car into Q2. So that was very interesting and blew a lot of things open. And then because of rain and a wet racetrack in the first bit of Q2, we saw a lot of very fast drivers put down laps early on that did not hold up in the last 2 minutes when the track got dry and the sun came out. And we saw drivers we don't typically see in Q3 contending for pole position. And we saw a lot. It's going to be a very, very interesting race simply because of how messy the grid is going to be today. So this reminds me. So I actually have a friend who I hope I can watch this race with sometime soon. This reminds me of when CART, the American IndyCar Series, CART, went to their Cleveland Airport circuit in 2001. In that case, what they did is they took the entire field, which was about 22 to 28 cars depending on the race, and they split it in half, where the upper half in points the lower half in points would go first, and the upper half in points would go second. And what happened is when the upper half in points were doing their qualifying session, rain fell onto the circuit, and it screwed over the entire qualifying for the fastest drivers. So you saw a lot of slower drivers up at the front at a really wide open circuit, and it made for a very, very interesting race. So if you're interested in an interesting race with some similar results like what we're seeing right here now, I recommend checking out the 2001 Macaroni Grand Prix at Cleveland. Very good race by any means. I think it's one of those underrated classics that a lot of people forget. But anyways, we're still staying by, waiting for our circuit to load up here. Also of note is because of issues that the game has, when you do warm-up laps, there will be no more warm-up laps in the series, which means that everyone's going to be starting on cold-ass fucking tires. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse there. Everyone's going to be starting on very, very cold tires. Pardon my French. It's not actually French, but forgive me for doing that. I didn't mean to do that. Please don't fire me for that, guys. But yeah, we could be looking at a very interesting race just on that virtue alone, that everyone's going to be starting on cold tires, going to be a cold run down through turn one, and the ending of our first sector is actually a very technical bit, so yeah, I wouldn't feel super comfortable right now. I honestly think that some of the guys who missed qualifying might actually end up being in a good position because everyone else can take themselves out ahead of you, and you can just wheel your way through the wreckage afterwards. Cold tires in general are not something you ever want to deal with. But it looks like just about everyone's readied up. Oh, wow. Yeah, I want to talk about... No, nothing. I'm still stuck. Here we are. Green flag. Lights out. Away we go. 18 drivers will take the line here. And that's Elfin Starfish up front. Here is Turbo. Dead last. He's one of the drivers who started on the hard tire compounds. Look at this run going down. There's all sorts of cars on top of each other. And there you have a bunch of guys off. That's Scholl. Scholl has thoroughly damaged his car despite qualifying near the front. So it's going to be very, very difficult for him to get underway. He has plummeted to the back of the field. Here is Tome and Gusty. Both of them, all three of them drivers who qualified near the front have now plummeted to the back of the field. Here is Turbo. Turbo has gained a lot of position off the back of the other drivers being involved in accidents there. Going into... Oh boy, this is going to be nuts. Going into... They're all going to be round top of each other as they head onto the second back straightaway. Now remember, DRS typically takes anywhere from 2 to 4 laps to get open. So everyone's still round top of each other for now. But if they stay on top of each other when DRS opens, we can see a lot of DRS truly style trains going around the circuit here. Ottawi is here in 5th position, and he is running behind Fratters. Fratters is having the start of his life. He is 4th behind 2 of the fastest drivers in the field, Boothby and Bucks. And way up in the front, Elfin Starfish has already pulled out with nearly a 3-second lead. Ooh, a little bit careful with the track limits there, Fratters. But he's got a wonderful run going right now, coming through down into the final corner. He looks to the inside. Boothie is not going to make anything happen yet. Right now, he's just focused on staying ahead of the guys behind him. Meanwhile, quarterback Constant Jet is making an overtake on Waldo down that front straightaway. He had a very, very good exit coming out of the final corner, and that will be enough to get him into the 7th position. Everyone is still relatively close to being on top of each other, and not just that, it looks like no one went ahead and jumped in the pit, so despite little damage, despite issues, drivers like Scholl are going to stay out. Now, real disappointing part, though, is that we have Cargo, one of our Alfa Romeo drivers. He is ranked dead last. No damage on the car, but he is 17 seconds out from the leader right now. Even Turbo is looking better than him, 15 seconds out. Scholl 14 seconds out. Dusty, this is the driver who's really going to be in a different position. He's on soft tire compounds, but he is not in a position to really make anything happen with them right now. Meanwhile, a little bit farther back, Boothie is making something happen. Look at this gaggle of cars all fighting behind Fratters. Fratters has actually worked his way ahead of Ottaway. So Fratters is really making those softs work at the moment. Look at this gaggle of cars. Boothie is coming down on Ottaway, and Ottaway is closing on Fratters. Since Turbo's in succession, but I'm sure the AI will take over him. Look at this turn. Boothie is not letting Ottaway go. Ottaway wants to get by Fratters immediately. Fratters is fighting for podium position right now on those soft tire compounds. But as this race goes on, it's going to fall faster and faster into the hands. Oh, wow, look at Snake there trying to make something happen on Boothie because Boothie got held up by Ottaway, who is getting held up by Fratters. And here he goes, Snake and Boothie neck and neck. They're almost going to make contact back there. Here comes Constant Jet. They're all on top of each other. Smash is still up there in the Ferrari as well. Down the straightaway, Smash and Waldo open full throttle down that front straight. Waldo is going to position his car ahead of Smash. Smash is going to fall back to the 9th position for the moment. Constant Jet is now looking at another Mercedes-powered engine car, but that's not just any Mercedes-powered engine car. That's XRL Snake, one of the Mercedes drivers who has been leading Mercedes to a very dominant position on the time chase right now. And Snake is going to turn around. He will avoid the inside wall, but he's going to spin himself around and will lose a bunch of times from that. He's going to fall to 7th, might be into 8th, might even fall to 9th. Yes, he does. Fratters goes fall behind Ottaway now, and Snake falls all the way down to 10th as Carlos Jackson even gets by him. Fratters in 4th position, having the run of his life right now, but he needs to turn running in the top 5 position into a good strategy. He has started on the soft tire compound, where a lot of the drivers ahead of him started on the mediums. He needs to figure out something so that way he can keep running with them as the race goes on. But the softs have gradually found their way up to the top because all the drivers who started in the softs, who are in the back of the field, are now swapped already to hards, and they might even try and run hards for the rest of the race. I'm talking primarily about Scholl, I'm talking primarily about XRL Gusty. Both of them have already pitted. They swapped onto the hard tire compounds, and with relatively clean racetrack ahead of them, considering they can probably DRS with each other down the straights and might be able to run down the leaders here in time. Here we are. This is Fratters. He got up to 3rd at the last minute, but he is going to go ahead and pull into the pits here. Now this is Books. He is now crawled up into the 2nd position here. And there's a yellow flag, safety car, and that is... I don't know what happened. What brought out the safety car? Here's Carlos Jackson and Boothie and Fratters. We saw Fratters not involved, so I wonder if Boothie and Carlos Jackson and Tome may have had... No, Tome has completely ruined front wing. They're going to be able to get him in, but he's going to lose a lot of time because Carlos Jackson was already in there. So they're going ahead and swap out the wing as significant damage across the entire field. So this is going to get very, very weird very, very quickly now. A lot of drivers are all going to be on top of each other because we have a full-on yellow flag. It's not just any yellow flag. This is a full safety car. Everyone's got to properly gather up behind the safety car. This could really, really benefit Fratters, who came into the pits just the moment before the safety car came out. Tome and Gusty, it's going to take them a little bit of time to catch up to the back of the field. They're swapping onto the hard tire compounds. No reason to run a really, really fast car if you have to spend all the time wearing away those tires just overtaking drivers. They're going to try and play the long game and get some positions up a little bit later on. Right now, Constant Jet is the unique one. He is the only driver running soft tire compounds at the moment. So a yellow flag here. We never even got the DRS zones open. That was something else to note. But a yellow flag here at circuit Paul Ricard. Very early on in the session as well. A little bit of an issue between Retro and Snake. I imagine that'll get resolved sooner rather than later. It says that Retro overtook Snake, but I think that was probably just... game's just being weird. I'm just gonna chalk up to the game being weird. But yeah, it looks like they're gonna have to go another lap because Schold, Gusty, and Tome are all quite a ways out from the back of the field here. Schold was involved in that very first lap incident at the end of Sector 1. Gusty and Tome involved in the most recent one, and Tome had to put on new tires altogether. Karis Jackson and someone else who ended up having canceled. A lot of very, very interesting things happening here right now. But the real interesting part, XRL Smash and the Ferrari. The Ferrari team has suffered significantly this entire season. To see them running the top 10 points paying positions by virtue of a good qualifying run, and you're staying out there. He didn't just start plummeting to the field. He's staying out there on a reasonable amount of pace. He's actually gained positions technically 10th to 6th. It says a lot about the quality of the drivers, and maybe, just maybe, shows that things are going to start turning around for the Scuderia Ferrari team. His teammate, XRL Turbo, is not having too bad of a run either. He's currently running in the 12th position at the moment. I anticipate we'll see the yellow flag be withdrawn this lap, and we'll see the pace car pull off in the distance sooner rather than later. Everyone has gathered up, and we will go green on lap 6. Now, according to there may be a threat of rain still. We see a really, really dark sky, but at the moment we don't anticipate rain to start being an issue. And there we are, from race control. It says safety car will come in this lap. You see the safety car start peeling away from our leader, Elfin Starfish. Starfish in the AlphaTauri has started on the pole position, has led every single lap, opened up a very, very significant gap early on, but now he's going to be fighting one of the Mercedes of Books right behind him, and behind him, one of our faster drivers in the series, Ottawee, as well. So he's going to have to pull off a really, really clever restart. Otherwise, he's going to probably be slugging it out with those two for a while, especially if the DRS ends up opening up. Excuse me. There we are, pace car is in, and we'll go green very shortly here. Starfish is not letting Books is staying right on Starfish. Starfish is doing everything he can to hold them up. That's really, really upset Books. And Ottawee, Starfish is going to have a little bit better run off the start than Books will. Our top 4, all really, really good in comparison to the rest of the field. A little bit further back, though, something happened to Smash. Smash has fallen through the field. He has dropped from the top 10 positions all the way down to 12. What happened to Smash? His teammate is fighting with Schold and Turbo. Now Turbo has come up to 14th position. Fratters is right there in the middle on the medium tire compounds. He's not going to be able to stay a long time on those tires compared to the other guys in mid, but he's going to have a little bit of time at least, and that's better than some of the people you think of. WCD Hubert has gone off the circuit apparently. WCD Hubert has spun around right before entering the first back straightaway. A bad day going worse with a Haas machine, and now it's Constant Jet. Constant Jet is at an issue. Booty has spun off as well. Schold is involved as well. A bunch of incidents have happened now. Going into the chicane at the end of the back straightaway. WCD Hubert has a warning. Ottawee now has a time penalty warning, and he has fallen off the back of Starfish, but Books has fallen behind Ottawee. It looks like Starfish might not even should have been in the X3. He could have been in the X1 race with the sheer pace he is showing today. Meanwhile, Fratters has found his way back into the points paying position. He is 9th on the circuit right now. Everyone ahead of him will have to pit sooner rather than later, although for Snake, Patriot, and Cargo, they will have a little bit of advantage by virtue of starting on hard tire compounds. But for Constant Jet, everything has gone very poor, very fast for him. He's still on the soft tire compounds, but he's now plummeted to the back of the field. He is standing to lose a lot of time overall here. Here here is Smash. Smash has worked his way back up into the 9th position, but the leaders are pulling off. He needs to make something happen if he can. Patriot, congratulations on Patriot. He has made it into the 7th position by virtue of both having hard tires and by virtue of not spending a lot of time struggling with instance that a lot of drivers around him have struggled with. A lot of racing going on here between Turbo. Oh no! Turbo and Fratters both end up wrecking each other. They raced a little bit too hard, and we saw it right here as Turbo made a little bit of contact with the left rear of Fratters. Of Turbo. Fratters, they cut the left rear of Turbo, and both of them went around, and it looks like the miracle day for Scuderia Ferrari and Fratters in the AlphaTauri. Man, just dropped away from them. They were running a little bit too hard, too intense for the points main positions. I feel like I'm gonna cry here. I've been pulling so hard for Fratters today, to see this happen is a travesty. Ah! This is what happens when you try to play God. Ah! Anyways, we're back underway here, and the other AlphaTauri of Elfin Starfish, on the other hand, has pulled out a significant lead. We've only been green for about 2 laps, and it really doesn't matter because Starfish has a lead of 3 seconds over a second-place driver right now. DRS has finally been enabled. Starfish doesn't care. He's off on his own. No one's going to even come close to touching him now. And Books, they're on the lead of a small little train here, and the two Force Racing Point Force Mercedes have found each other. Going down the first back straightaway, we have a little DRS train opened up here with Ottaway leading Books. Now, the big thing is going to be, what can Books do to Ottaway as they come into this next little straight? DRS opens here. Nope, it didn't open DRS. Okay, that's interesting. It said DRS open, but no one opened up DNS, so that's interesting. A little bit of a train is formed between Ottaway and, by the looks of it, Snake has just dropped off the back, so about between Ottaway and Retro, one Ferrari engine leading 3 different Mercedes powertrains. And there we are, we see the DRS opening for the drivers ahead. Snake really closing in up there, but here we have Books. He's trying to make something happen to Ottaway, but it looks like the Alfa Romeo is really trimmed out for the straights enough that even with DRS, Books wasn't able to close the gap too significantly. I'm gonna be honest, Elfin Starfish, nothing against you, mate, but you are so bloody fast, and there's literally nothing happening with you. You might not have a whole lot of coverage on you for today's race. Please don't take it personal, and a little bit of contact happens between Books and Ottaway's right rear tire. Now here we are, they're gonna come down onto the first of the 2 back straightaways. Will Books open up DRS? Yes, he opens up DRS. He's closing in on Ottaway on the straight, but not closing nearly fast enough to actually make anything happen. But here's the real interesting part. Snake in the other Mercedes has caught the tail end of this little train. He might actually have the speed and ability to start overtaking the Racing Point machines ahead of him. Meanwhile, there's another train of DRS that has formed. This is about from 8th on back here. And Careless Jackson has gone way off circuit. Something just, the day is not going well at all for him. Here's Constant Jet, who is still on the same soft tires he started the race on, and he's actually going to be able to overtake him. So for Careless Jackson, day is just not going well. The car is still in a decent position, but it's just not able to make anything happen right now. Meanwhile, a little bit farther back, Scholl has lost 10th position to Tome, so Tome has now found himself up into the points paying position, and something has happened to Books! Books has turned himself around, coming out of the second to last corner. He is going to drop off out of that trolley train all the way back to 7th now, and he's going to be really, really slow on the front straight. I wouldn't be surprised if XRL Smash ended up riding him down. Also, credit to XRL Smash, he is still right in the top 10 position. Meanwhile, this is Snake, the other Mercedes machine. He is now 5th. His teammate has dropped off ahead of him, but he's still in a position on the hard tire compound so that as our top 4 drivers start finding their tires wear away, he will be still with an optimal operating ability and temperature. He could still make something happen here. Excuse me. Fratters now has the fastest lap with a 134.429, which is pretty impressive, but he... Okay, I thought I saw something like a ghost floating across the screen. Now, that was weird. But he needs to do something. So that really game. All right, fine, cool. We'll be that way then. No gaps then. I'll just use the map. No gaps. F1 2020 is not letting us utilize the timing board properly, so sorry about that, people. Here's the real interesting part. Ottawi has actually pulled just a little bit of a gap against Fine Waldo here. And there we are. Pit road window is opening for the hard tire compound strategy, so we could possibly see Snake and Cargo making stops sooner rather than later here. Constant Jet is finally jumping off those soft tire compounds. He is going to come into the pits and has to make something happen. The real frustrating part, though, is these 2 drivers here, Fratters and Turbo, both involved in an accident with each other. And although Fratters is putting down the fastest laps on track right now, he is so far off the front of the field, it's unlikely he will be able to contend for points unless a yellow flag happens and some really crazy stuff happens. Meanwhile, WCD Hubert continues to struggle. He has not been even able to crack the points-paying positions thus far today, as he is currently running the 13th position on his medium tire compounds, and he's been overtaken by 2 drivers on the hards who will be able to stay for a lot longer on him, one of them being his teammate. Here's Gusty, he is right behind a little Truly train as well, being led by Snake and Tome, but Tome is not standing for it, and neither is Patriot. We might see a little bit of something happen sooner rather than later here. Gusty has a great line. This is going to be it. Gusty is going to overtake Patriot. So Gusty into the points-paying position ahead of Patriot here. Patriot wants to fight back, but there's not really any chance for him to. He goes really shallow. That's going to enable Scholl to follow up now. Scholl is going to move into the 11th position. WCD Hubert is now starting to close in, as it looks like Patriot is starting to have to fall away from him. And now our top 2 drivers of Waldo and Ottawi are pitting. Retro is going to inherit 2nd position off the back of that, but the amount of time that he has compared to Elfin Starfish is massive. It's not likely that Retro is going to be able to run down Starfish anytime soon. WCD Hubert, he has now moved up into 11th position by virtue of drivers ahead of him, now beginning to make pit stops. Everyone running hard or medium tire compounds at this point in the race, and we anticipate it'll stay that way until the very end. We'll probably see a few drivers with nothing really to lose will jump onto the softs at the very tail end of the race to try and set down the point for the fastest in-race lap here. Down the straightaway here, and you can see Tome right there. He's got DRS. Is he going to try and make something happen against Cargo? I mean, against Smash? He can neck and neck, and yes, he will. He's going to overtake Smash. But the big thing is, Smash is going to have DRS on the next straightaway, so Smash exited that straight with enough ability. Well, no, actually, I take it back. This is ahead at the line. He's not going to have DRS. But Smash does seem to have a relatively good run going down the straightaway. The Ferrari power seems to be respectable on the straights at least. He's not lost Tome too much yet, but he needs to make something happen soon because Gusty is right there willing to make something happen. The big thing with Smash though is that Smash is on medium tire compounds. Everyone else in this little train is on hards. So the longer and longer he saves with them, the faster and faster they're all going to be in relation to him. Smash realizes that the team's going to bring that Ferrari in. In fact, a lot of drivers came in, including our race leader, Elfin Starfish. Starfish is going to fall a bunch of positions now. He's going to fall out of the top 6. I think he actually might fall to 8th by the time he comes onto the track. But everyone ahead of him has yet to pit. He is the highest up on everyone who has made his pit stop by virtue of, leading almost every lap at this point. I imagine as long as Starfish doesn't get involved in someone else's best, he will not have too much of an issue trying to get back up to the lead, and will probably go back to extending his lead. Also of note, Elfin Starfish flew on the hard tire compounds. We can probably expect them to run hard tire compounds until the very end of today's race. Meanwhile, here's this battle. Oh, and Snake! Something has happened to Snake! There's a virtual safety car. Something happened to Snake, but I didn't see what it was. Oh, he's right there on the circuit as well! So Snake, one of the Mercedes machines, finds himself ruined here. We are under another virtual safety car now. But Snake, who was running the top 5 before pit stop started, has been involved in the accident, has destroyed the front suspension of the car. Very, very bad day for Mercedes, to say the least. His teammate XXX is 16th, not even close to the points making positions. Yes, he will inherit some positions back once the drivers ahead of him start making stops, but it's still not a good thing to see, to say the least. And we are back underway. DRS is enabled. Smash is fine with Constant Jet here, but Smash has gradually found himself falling out of the top positions by virtue of him having pitted and jumped onto the hard tire compounds. However, Smash will not have to pit again. He will stay on those compounds for the rest of the day's race. Here's WCD Hubert. He is pitting, and when he pits, I imagine he will go and throw on the hard tire compounds. Here is Retro, who has put on hard tire compounds as well. He was leading. He's not leading now, though. And meanwhile, up at the front, it's XRL Cargo and the Alfa Romeo. But the big thing is, he has to keep in mind where Elfin Starfish is. Here's the real interesting part. Everyone except for 4 drivers in the back are all running hards now. Although I imagine Patriot, and to an extent Cargo, will see both pitting sooner rather than later. Down the straightaway, Elfin Starfish is going to breeze by Schold. Even though both of them had DRS, Starfish obviously has a very good car set up for that corner exit. He was able to utilize that. Starfish is now up into the 4th position. A little bit farther back, Ottawi has gotten by Careless Jackson, going through that chicane that's in between the 2 back straightaways. Here's Waldo. He's on the tail end of a little train that's formed between 6th and 9th, although this is a gradually spacing out train, as Ottawi is actually starting to lose Patriot just a little bit. Patriot in the Red Bull, he's the only Red Bull on track, and he's putting on a good time. And Starfish now has the fastest lap time of the day. Impressive job. Starfish doesn't really even want to worry about trying to fight his way through worry about drivers ahead of him pitting. He wants to just fight his way through the field. Right on board Starfish as he is closing in on the McLaren of XRL Tome here. DRS opens for Elfin Starfish here. Very, very smooth. The car is very well set up for straight line ability. With a little bit of DRS, he made that work in the nick of time. Starfish now up in 2nd, and the gap between himself and Cargo is 10 seconds, and with the speed that he's putting down, I wouldn't be surprised if it vanished even faster. Here's a little battle between Tome, trying to fight back against Starfish on the straight, but it looks like he just doesn't have what it takes to hold even with them. Going through these corners, you need to have enough air on the front wings to keep up with the drivers ahead of you, but the ideal line is being taken by the driver ahead. You have to do a really, really fine balance of sacrificing one corner to get an advantage in the next corner just to stay even with the people ahead of you, and it looks like the battle is slowly falling away from Tome's hands. You can see that Starfish is gradually opening the gap between himself and Tome. Ooh, Starfish kicks the rear end a little bit, out a little bit there, down the front straightaway. A little bit farther back though, Patriot has gone ahead, made his stop. Ottawi is going to stay out for a little longer, and here is Cargo. Cargo has swapped off to the tire compounds, who will run that for the rest of the race today. Yellow flag in Sector 3, and Constant Jet has spun it around there. Everyone's going to get by without too much of an issue, but not good for Constant Jet, running on medium tire compounds. I'm be interested to see if he can make those mediums last to the end of the race here today. Here's Patriot. was fighting the points main positions. Now he's back on the mediums, and he will run these mediums for the remaining 11 laps of the race. That's going to be really hard. That's a lot harder push on the mediums than I myself would feel comfortable doing, but it looks like he's going to go with that. A little bit farther back, Carlos Jackson and Fine Waldo are having their own little battle for points between 6th and 7th position here. It's a little silent at the moment as you can watch the actual battle going on between Carlos Jackson and the driver right ahead, XRL Cargo. Both of them have DRS open on the driver ahead of them. It's Fine Waldo for Jackson, but it's not enough really for anyone to really do anything with at the moment. Here's the big thing. Starfish back in the lead. He has the gap of about 2 seconds over Tome. Not as much as we've seen earlier, but Tome will have to pit, as will Gusty and Schold. The real gap is going to be between Starfish and Ottawi. When Ottawi finally pits, he's going to have, by the looks of it, almost a 10-second gap between the two of them. So yeah, Starfish cruising here, and even on the restarts, no one has really been able to take any fight to Starfish in today's race. Meanwhile, this battle will not let up. Carlos Jackson, although he's losing time on these really hard, worn hards, he's maybe losing time, but he's not losing it without a fight. But he will have to pit sooner rather than later, and when he does, he's going to plummet through the order, though. Constant debt, a penalty for him. It's rough to see. Alright, looks like the game has finally allowed us to have functionality to watch the distance gap between our various drivers here. This is our battle for 2nd and 3rd. Gusty and Tome running very similar tire strategies at the moment. Gusty has DRS on Tome, but he was a little bit too far back to really make anything happen. Right now, DRS is being used more to close in the gap on the driver's head than actually make an outright overtake. This battle here is spiced up, though. Waldo here in the racing point has found XRL Cargo closing in on him. So Cargo has caught Waldo. Cargo has fresher medium tire compounds, only 2 laps on them, while Waldo has 6 laps on his hards. The benefit is going to go for Cargo for several more laps, so Waldo really needs to make some good defensive plays if he wants to stay ahead of that Alfa Romeo. And speaking of the Alfa Romeo, there's an Alfa Romeo ahead of him. That is oddly forced about 3.5 seconds up the road here. He's currently in the 5th position, relatively good position for him when it comes to points. And now on the straight, here we are, DRS assist, Cargo breezes by Ottawi without too much of an issue. The gap between Starfish and Tome actually has not opened up nearly as much as I thought it would. I honestly thought Starfish would have ran off a lot farther away from Tome than he has. So big credit to Starfish for keeping his pace under control, and Tome for not, yes, Starfish is pulling on him, but he's not run off on him despite Tome having significantly more worn tires. Tome, Gusty, and Schold all running medium tire compounds that have 15 or more laps on. They will have to, I can't imagine they're going to be able to stick on these tires to the end of the race. If they're able to, that would be impressive. But they've got Ottawi, who's on 7 lap hard, so less than half of the age of theirs, and he can easily go to the end on that. And maybe not so much for Tome and Gusty, but for Schold, he's probably going to be fighting with Ottawi before the race is over. The gap between the two of them is about 4 seconds at the moment. Right now, we are in a position where most of the battles on the racetrack have pretty much stabilized. We aren't seeing a whole lot else going on. Here we are, race director. Just real quickly, want to give you an overlook on how everyone's race has gone thus far. Only 2 drivers have made more than one stop, and that is Fratters in the AlphaTauri. He went from soft to mediums, and then Boothie in the Renault, soft, mediums. Almost everyone else is running hard, medium, compound setups. Gusty is the really unique one. He started on softs, and he's trying to try and make hards last to the end of the race. If he can make it work, that would be a very, very impressive run, to say the least. A lot of significant incidents going throughout the race today. It could be a very, very difficult day when it comes to penalties that we see here. Fratters and Turbo have warnings for their incident between each other, but no actual penalties there. We're seeing some time penalties, but nothing really significant yet other than the normal 3-second penalties. Hopefully it's not to the extent that will upset the entire order of the race by the end of the day. We've seen a lot of drivers have to make front wing damage repairs. Not as much as in other races, but it's more than we'd like to see, honestly. Oh, and something's happened to Constant Jet. Okay, wow. Go figure. While I was going and looking at something happened to Constant Jet. He is off circuit. Safety car. That has brought out a safety car. You can see Constant Jet's car ruined all the way out there. Whatever happened must have been really extreme because he's way out there by himself. But yellow flag has happened with 7 laps to go, and it's a full-on yellow as well. Full safety car. It's going to take a long time for the entire field just to gather up properly. And then even when they do, well, this could be, we're going to be at this for a long time, everybody. Fratters has gone ahead. He's jumping onto the pit. He's in the pits, and he is putting on, it looks like he's putting on hard tire compounds. I would put on mediums, honestly. There's no point in running hard when there's only going to be 7 laps. I would put on mediums myself, but Fratter is hoping that this late race yellow, he can make something happen with it, take advantage of the chaos ahead of him, and still work his way back into the points paying positions. Smash, one of the other drivers who ended up near the front, he's going to be in a similar position. He needs to hope that drivers ahead of him either hit or something happens to them. And things could definitely happen because Cargo has medium tires, which are going to be faster than drivers ahead, but his own tires are only going to be good for about another, I think on the last 2 laps, Cargo's tires are going to drop off for him. Then Ottaway ahead of him is, oh! And Cargo and Ottaway have made contact going into the pits! Cargo and Ottaway both crashed! Cargo's front wing completely destroyed, and that's going to completely ruin both of their days! What in the world happened there? What in the... What? Well, okay, so there's definitely going to be some talks in the team later over that as the 2 Alfa Romeos end up crashing nose to tail going into the pit lane. Oh, that ain't good. That's not good at all. Here's Cargo. They're repairing his car. The damage on that is going to be very, very significant, but I think he'll be able to get him back out without too much here. And Bucks. Both of them are now beginning to exit the pits. The real crazy part is that our leader has finally caught the pace car, but it's going to be at least another 2 laps, I think, before the entire field is properly gathered up. Ottaway probably got away without too much damage, I hope. It was a very square hit on the back of that car. As long as it didn't upset the rear suspension, I think he'll be okay. They got tires changed, so I'm not too concerned about it. The big issue is going to be Cargo. There's definitely going to be talk in the Alfa Romeo camp later over what happened there, so... Now, meanwhile, back at the front, this is going to be interesting because now, outside of Fratters, Starfish and Retro are the only drivers on hard tire compounds. They're still within a decent operating range, but they're going to be significantly slower than this guy here, Tome, who's going to be running softs, and Dusty here, Ford, will be running mediums, and Scholl will also be running softs. Patriot is 6 laps on his mediums, and again, I think those tires will probably die off at like last lap or two. He really, if he can just hang where he is now, as long as he can, I think he'll be able to leave here with some points. We have Fine Waldo. Here's another driver who swapped into the mediums, and this is going to be really interesting. Ottaway, Jackson, Hubert all jumped onto the soft tire compounds. Hubert is finally in the top 10. He might be able to make some points out of today's race. At least a point if he can just stay where he is. Smash is just staying right outside of the points paying position. He needs something to happen up front in order for him to take advantage of his medium tire compounds and get some points. Ferrari, they had a really, really lucky and good performance in qualifying, but Smash ended up just not being able to hang with the drivers ahead of him. He's very gradually slipped backwards through the field, but now he's on medium tire compounds on a late race restart. This might be a chance for something to happen for him. Then we have behind him, here's Cargo. It's going to be a lot. I'm just going to say Cargo really needs to pull some decent points out just to negate the ass whipping he's probably going to get from the team later on. What happened between Cargo and Ottaway was really, really rough, to say the least. Here's Boothie. Boothie, who had some good runs in qualifying, has not been able to put them all together in the race itself. He has fallen all the way back to 13th. And here's Books. He's the only Mercedes car left on the track. His teammate Snake has crashed out early on. And Books is not even in the points-paying positions right now. It's really, really not looking good for him. Here's Fratters. Fratters needs to really step it up so that we can catch up to the back of the field. He is 15th, second to last of the drivers on the track. He qualified 7th, was running up near the front for a long time, had what looked like a decent tire strategy. Then he made contact with this driver here, XRL Turbo. Fratters and Turbo went around, damaged their cars, and they've been running well off the pace of the rest of the field ever since then. Now, it looks like they may have a chance to try and salvage at least a few points, but for Fratters and Turbo, they really need a lot of chaos to happen up front, and they need to avoid chaos up front if they want a chance to earn points here today. But here we are. We're going to be starting lap 23 now. Oh, this is going to get really, this could get really nuts. Again, for Elfin Starfish and Retro, they're both on hard tire compounds. They're still within an operating window. They'll probably fall off just a little bit in the last lap or two, but with the pace that Starfish has had, I wouldn't worry too much about it. For Retro, this is the closest he's been to Starfish all day, but he's on almost the same type of tire and wear and the same type of tire. He needs to focus more on defense probably against Tome. Thing is, if Retro might be able to pull something out, if Retro lets Tome by and Tome on those softs is able to challenge Starfish right at the start, then we may have a full-on battle for the race lead. Elfin has led most of this race unopposed, but now he's got drivers with significantly faster tires behind him. Things could happen. The big thing is, this is the lap I imagine we will see the pace car come in and we will go green. We'll have 4 laps to go. Yeah. Oh boy, this could get really interesting, folks, to say the least. So, 16 of our 18 stars are still on the racetrack. Constant Jed is our driver who's brought our most recent yellow flag. And then XRL Snake also brought a yellow flag. We had a yellow flag here on lap 3, but I do not understand exactly what happened. I saw several drivers come into the pits to repair damage, but I never really saw what happened to force the yellow itself. Apologies for that. And yes, there it is. Race Control says safety car is in this lap. So we've had 3 yellow flags today, 2 of them being safety cars and 1 just being a virtual safety car here. So this is going to be where it's all going to come down to what can our drivers do to the leaders, right? What can our drivers second on back do to our very dominant leader, Elfin Starfish, today? And for Elfin Starfish's teammate, Fratters, what can he do to get back in the top 10? What can Turbo do to get possibly in the top 10? Can Smash make at least 1 overtake and get himself into the top 10? This is going to be the driver who really will be exciting to watch. XRL Tome, they come to the green here. He is on soft tires, very little wear on them compared to the hard drivers ahead. What can he do? All right, we are back underway. It's green flag here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Ooh, Gusty really trying to close in the gap on Tome for the moment there. It's a little bit wide, a little bit farther back in the field. Here's Ottaway putting the incident he had with his teammate behind him, he needs to try and run down Waldo. These softs are only going to be good for a few laps here. They'll probably die on the last lap or so. They already have several laps of wear on them. Very, very interesting to say the least. Here's a little bit of a scenario here. Cargo has overtaken Smash, so it looks like Smash's race might be slipping away from him, and his chance to bring home points for the Ferrari team seems to be slowly vanishing here. Meanwhile, a little bit farther ahead in the field, we got a little battle going on here between Waldo and Patriot. Patriot, the only Red Bull car in the field right now, trying desperately to make home and break. He's trying desperately to make points for his team. I need to stop trying to say really fancy stuff. But this is the battle for second. Tome has overtaken Retro. 1.5 seconds, a little more than 1.5 seconds between Tome and Starfish. Tome needs to put maximum wear on those softs now and try to run down Starfish. He's only going to have 3 laps when they come to the line. And for Retro, what can Retro do to hold off Gusty behind him? Ooh, a little bit of a lockup from Retro just ahead. Gusty's right there. He's in the draft. Starfish just put down the fastest lap of the day, 132.707. And a little bit farther back, Ottawi and Patriot are having some battles. Here's Cargo, and Hubert is going to slide out of the points paying position, or is he? He's fighting back against the other Ferrari badge, and he's going to barely hold off over Cargo, but Cargo probably won't be very happy with that. This actually brings Smash and Boothie in a position where they might be able to make something happen to Cargo. Everyone back here is right on top of each other, but you want to know someone else who's right on top of each other? This is for the lead. Tome is less than 6/10 out from Starfish. No, DRS has not been enabled yet, though, in the session. So Tome needs to just get a little bit closer. So when DRS does open, he might be able to make a DRS overtake. Starfish has dominated this race today, but he's going to be in for a fight in these final 2.5 laps here. Tome is less than 4/10 behind Starfish, but right now this is one of the technical sections. He needs to be very careful and not overrun the car and burn up those front tires. He needs to make sure these softs are at their maximum ability going to the very end today. What can the McLaren do against the AlphaTauri? Tome is there. Oh, wow, what happened there? Oh, Waldo has to pit. Something's happened to Waldo there that has required that car to come into the pits. So that's going to shake up everything here. But something else that's shaking up, Tome, really fast lap there. He is right there behind Starfish. Can he make something happen? Yeah, 3 different drivers, Waldo, Hubert, and Books, all pitted now. So they've fallen to 14th, 15th, and 16th. This could make things really interesting. This actually brings Cargo back into the points paying positions as well. Also, credit to Retro. Retro, despite having very worn hards, he's staying in the top 3 right now. This could be it. This could be the overtake for a lead. Tome with the DRS on the outside of Starfish. He's going to get himself ahead of Starfish. Going into the chicane. It was the second to last lap pass. Will Starfish be able to hold on and maybe make a respectable last lap pass in response? Meanwhile, look at this train here. Oh, wow, no DRS though. That's no DRS here on this straightaway at least. Here's Boothie and Patriot fighting for 9th. Oh, Boothie nearly cuts right into Patriot's rear tire. Right on top of each other. This can get really, really hairy up here. Patriot on much, much more worn mediums than Boothie soft. Both these tires are going to be falling out of their operational range very shortly here. Wow, it's a little bit farther up as Tome and Starfish have crossed the line to take the white flag. Cargo is trying to run down Jackson. There is no one behind Cargo at the moment. It's just between him and Jackson. A little bit farther up, Ottawi wants to see if he can do something against Scholl. Scholl has caught Gusty, and Gusty has caught Retro. Retro is going to be in for a fight of his life here at the very end of this race. here we are, Gusty. He's got the DRS open, but he's not overtaking Retro. Not here, at least. He's going to have to do it by driver ability. He still put his nose there like he was going to make it happen anyway. He is trying to get into Retro's head to make something happen. The gap between first and second is opened up to about 1.2 seconds. The yellow flag is happening back there. It looks like Books has got him around there in the final sector. But this is going to be where the real interesting battle is going to be. Fratters and Turbo are now in a fight for 12 and 13 farther back, but this is for third. Can Gusty do something to Retro? It doesn't look like it. It looks like the battle has fallen away from Gusty. Shoulder is there in the sauce. If something happens, he might be able to make something happen. Turbo has overtaken Boofy. Turbo just needs to make one more overtake, and he might be able to make points on Smash, but Smash is the other Ferrari, and he's already in the points with a decent gap ahead of him. Meanwhile, Tome, fastest lap at the... What? Ah! Alright. Well, sorry about that, guys. So it looks like Starfish will win the race either way because Tome apparently had an unserved penalty. So Starfish is still going to win the race regardless. Retro will bring home third. Karos Jackson will bring home fourth. Shoulder will come home fifth. Gusty will come home sixth. Ottawi in seventh. Cargo eighth. Patriot ninth for the Red Bull. Turbo comes home from not even making it into Q3. He will come home 10th, Smash 11th, Waldo 12th, Fratters 13th as the front wing has damage. Okay, well. Well, I said I hope that the time penalties the time penalties don't end up screwing around with the race results too much, and they did. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to get your hopes up. But anyways, congratulations to the AlphaTauri. They have brought home a victory this season, first victory, I believe, this year for them. So great job. And we'll go ahead and try to bring our race winner into the party to hear what he has to say. Very, very dominant performance today, to say the least. So there's your race results. Elf and Starfish are going to go ahead real quickly and try to... I don't want to exit the session. Here's Elf and Starfish. He's going to come home ahead of XRL Tome, who had the 3-second penalty. Tome still opened up a decent gap against Starfish, but in the end just wasn't enough. Retro finishes third. Karos Jackson fourth. Shoulder fifth. Gusty sixth. Ottawi and Cargo 7th and 8th, Red Bull with Patriot 9th, Turbo 10th, Smash 11th, Waldo 12th, Fratters 13th, Boothie 14th, Books 15th, Hubert 16th, and then the two drivers who did not finish the race, Constant Jet and Snake, both finished 17th and 18th. But I'm going to try one more time and get word in from Starfish as to what he has to say about his race today. And it seems like we're not having any luck gain anything from him, sadly. But here's your final results for the day. Tome took 3 different tires throughout the race and ended up bringing him home to second. But very interesting race from France. Not the craziest race ever, but there was definitely some interesting stuff that happened today. A lot of good drivers who haven't had good runs ended up starting relatively well, but in the end, the normal cream at the top that we see came back to the top. So... gotta be a little bit disappointing. Kind of disappointed. I was personally looking to possibly seeing more results from the Ferraris and Fratters, possibly bring home more points. Ended up not working out. But once again, I gotta give big props to our actual race winner on that. But anyways, our day is pretty much running down to an end. Very interesting event here we had at France. And in a week's time, we'll be doing the same thing. Not at France. I don't know where our next circuit is gonna be, sadly, but in a week, we will be back with you for X3. So, please don't leave us. One second. I'm checking something here. Alright, yeah. So anyways, yeah. Next week, we'll be doing another race for the X3 Championship. In about an hour, you can go to the other Extreme Racing League channel, and they will be covering the X2 race. We'll be at the same circuit. But until next time, I've been Same Layer 13. Once again, big thanks to the Extreme Racing League division for letting me come on and do the broadcasting for them. I absolutely love doing this. I especially love doing it for the X3 guys. And that's going to be it for me. I'm going to sign out from my end. Sayonara.